Welcome, everyone. This is Cherie Jones. I am the CEO of Legacy Team Associates. We are
Uh-oh.
the premier resource partner of small businesses and real estate investors that want to establish a legacy for their companies and their families. And the reason for us coming together today is I remember what it was like starting out 7 years ago and trying to figure out which resources were necessary to thrive and survive in this marketplace. And so I wanted to start a bi-weekly series where I can bring on trusted resource partners that can provide services that are very integral for the survival and for small business owners like myself to thrive. Some of the services that we provide are financing from 5,000 all the way up to 500 million, growth and exit strategies for any business and any industry and any growth stage. And so without further ado, what I want to do is introduce Warris Levine. He is the CEO of Innovative Logics and his team. And today we're going to talk about cybersecurity. So how you doing, Warris and team?
I'm doing just fine.
Good, good. So I wanted to just kind of bring you on again as a resource partner. I know that right now cybersecurity is always a buzzword that we hear out there. And I just want you to tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company.
Okay, Cherie, not a problem. Again, my name is Warris Levine, the owner of Innovative Logics. Innovative Logics was actually started in 2009. The company was started by my wife.
Okay.
She had an idea that she was going to develop software for education because she's been in education all of her life. We had a conversation before she started the company. I told her that it was going to be very, very painful for her and very easy for us. And it's something we go through a lot of times when we get in an engagement. And after she started understanding, when I started meeting with her, trying to get her ideas out of her, she realized that this was something she didn't want to do. So in 2013, I took over the company when I resigned from the city of Dallas as the CIO. And I've been running the company ever since. And we changed the dynamics of the company and the objective of the company and what we're focused on. We're focused on cybersecurity, as you mentioned before. We're also focused on IT consulting, is where we sit with the management team and work on strategic direction, roadmaps, digital transformation. And we'll also provide managed services. We'll come in and we'll manage your environment for you, whether it's your cyber or your day-to-day environment. So this is what we're doing right now, Cherie.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I know there's a lot of need out there. And as a small business owner, a lot of times you get started and you're doing the things that you want to do and you're wearing multiple hats. And it's really hard to know what's important when it relates to IT services, what's important when it relates to cybersecurity. So that's the reason why I want to bring you guys on today. So thank you so much. So just given your experience since 2013 and in this current climate of inflation, struggle, so many people are just trying to keep their heads above water. How important are protective strategies and cybersecurities for your clients today?
The protective strategies in cybersecurity are of utmost importance to our clients in today's digital landscape. The increasing sophistication and frequency of the cyber threats pose significant risk to the business and individuals alike. Implementing effective protective strategies helps mitigate these risks and safeguard sensitive data, systems, and networks. The cybersecurity industry is forecasting $170 billion in 2023, according to Gartner, with a yearly growth of 12%. This is due in part to organizations evolving their defense strategies and cyber threats and a rise in such threats. Inflation is eroding budgets and employee compensation, and in turn creates unseen resignation rates, and if not addressed, can jeopardize ongoing cyber efforts. Inflation and shortage of skilled cyber professionals create increasing competition between the federal and private sectors, and inflation creates a negative outlook for recruiting, retraining, and retaining cyber talent.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned some of those numbers because, as a small business owner myself, I'm thinking, oh, I'm safe, I've got everything safeguarded. And I was personally hacked a few months ago. And so I just remember just the pain of just trying to make sure that, all the information wasn't jeopardized for my clients and things like that. So it's so important. And I think that sometimes as a small business owner, if you've got a handful of clients or if you've got a handful of employees, you may think that cybersecurity is just kind of a buzzword that you hear for some of the larger corporations. And so it's so important to know that it impacts you whether you're a one person shop or whether you've got 1,000 employees. And so that's really something important to know. So, speaking of that, what would you guys say is your ideal client?
Oh, Cherie, there are many things I can say about an ideal client, but let me just touch on a few. When we
Okay.
go out and look for a client, especially when it comes to cybersecurity, the ideal client takes a proactive stance towards cybersecurity.
Okay.
They understand the importance of cybersecurity, and they're more proactive and not reactive when it comes to solutions. An ideal client is a client that effectively communicates, okay, with us in a partnership. See, an ideal client is someone that's transparent, that provides accurate and timely information, and maintains online open lines of communications with us throughout the process. Okay, so that makes an ideal client, and one that's collaborative and cooperative. So these are some of the things that we look for when we go out and look for clients when it comes to cybersecurity.
Okay. And that's important because I know myself dealing with certain clients, they say they want my help and then I give them the tools or I try to give them the tools, but I need feedback on those tools or, some of their processes and things like that. And if they don't respond in a timely manner, like you said, keep that open line of communication open, then there's really nothing that I can do for them. I can't, magically show up at their place and do everything that I need to do. So that, I'm glad that you definitely brought that up. Now, again, cybersecurity is something that we hear all the time. And so I wanted to try to get an idea if you guys can provide like a case study, just general terms of a recent client that you've helped.
Yeah, at a public safety agency, we performed a risk assessment of their CGIS, cybersecurity compliance and response policies. And we determined that this agency needed to institute encryption of their network to ensure CGIS compliance, and that unsecured areas such as squad cars require multi-factor authentication. We also discovered upon researching that their application system security, that they were not compliant with federal law when it came to criminal background checks to the NCIC system. And in particular with their message switch, which is that interface between the CAD system, the records management system, and the federal agencies, NCIC. And that is about 90% of what all police agencies utilize to retrieve criminal information and warrants. And they were not passing along CGIS required credentials for each of the officers performing criminal background checks. This solution required implementation of products such as NetMotion to ensure that data in flight and data at rest was encrypted for the squad cars, but also provided secured and encrypted edge Wi-Fi solution for them to use their AFIS devices, which is an automated finger identification system. They could actually now in the field take fingerprints and do a lookup on any outstanding warrants and look at their criminal background.
Okay, very nice. Now, what was the size of that particular client? Do you have an idea of like how many employees they had or
over 3,000 officers?
Okay. And so that's a relatively large client. Can you think of anything where you've helped like a smaller business to do something? I just want to make sure that some of the smaller business owners understand the importance of this as well, whether you have 3,000 employees like that police station that you're talking about, or whether you have 10 employees. Can you just kind of shed some light on that?
Yes, we've done.
Yes, Cherie, we go ahead, Chuck.
No, Wars, you go ahead.
Okay, here. Yes, we had a smaller client. When I say a smaller client, a much smaller client in the clergy. It was a church.
Okay.
Okay, and the we did an assessment of their environment. They had 3 servers. All of the things you need to communicate with. But one of the things we found was that the age of their equipment, before we could do anything else, the age of the equipment was so old that we had to upgrade their equipment. Okay, so those are some of the things that you find in some of the, in this particular case, in a lot of cases when we meet with what I would say smaller clients that feel that they're safe, that's one of the major things that we run into. And again, it was not a mega church here, one of the mega churches here in Texas. It was actually a family church where there's 150 members and the staff is 10 individuals.
Okay. Okay. So I just want, and I appreciate that because I just want a smaller business to understand the importance of this. Like it can touch a one-person shop, like myself, because I have subcontractors that I work with, or it can impact a 3,000 employee company like the one that you talked about, Chuck, before, or was, the small church with 10 employees. It's just so important to understand the importance of from the, on the scale of 0 to whatever number of employees you have is something that you definitely have to be concerned about. So what would you say, either of you, are the risks involved in implementing some of your protective cybersecurity strategies?
I would say one of the biggest risks is to ensure that cybersecurity is also supporting the business.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, cybersecurity and IT can cause damage to the business by making controls and/or policies too strict, which
Mm.
in turn costs the company money, affect business operations, or can even cause users to bypass or ignore security rules because they feel it is hindering them from completing their jobs. There needs to be a balance between the business and the IT cybersecurity, and this will always be a moving target. Continual testing is another aspect, and evaluation of cybersecurity systems and protocols is critical to identifying all significant cyber vulnerabilities and the level of capability required to exploit those vulnerabilities. This testing includes the ability to recover from a cybersecurity threat that could occur, in the event that trained users violate cybersecurity protocols. So ensuring proper backup and recovery is a critical component to a disaster recovery plan.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. Now, do you guys normally have like cookie cutter solutions to your business owners, or, how do you work in each industry?
Well, at Innovative Logics, we have experience in manufacturing, software development, government, public safety, financial, and service industries. There's no one cookie cutter solution since every business is different with unique requirements and
Mhm.
relative regulatory compliance. One example of this was a public safety agency that was not legally compliant with HIPAA regulations,
Mm.
since it was originally thought that another agency was handling all medical emergencies. But we discovered that certain public safety officers were administering Narcan for opioid overdoses, and they were not correctly following HIPAA laws concerning overdoses.
Mm. Can you kind of just shed some light on HIPAA laws for those of the folks out there who may not know what HIPAA is? Most of us know what it is, but somebody out there may say, "What is HIPAA?"
Well, HIPAA is the regulatory regulations and compliance required for the healthcare industry.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. All right. And so then, if everybody's different as it relates to businesses and, the strategies needed to implement cybersecurity at the different facets of different businesses, what are you guys' fees? Like, how do you come up with, what the fees are going to be for an individual client?
Well, Cherie, it just depends. Like Chuck said, every business is different. Chuck gave the example of the law enforcement agency. I gave the example of the church. So it just depends. It depends on on your security infrastructure. I mentioned that they had all equipment. So there was a cost for hardware and software solution, the firewalls, intrusion detection, and everything we need right up front. So it depends on your environment and what we're doing. It also depends on the industry that you're in. You may have a compliance regulation that you may not know you have to follow, or you may have one that you're supposed to follow and you're not following. So all of those things come up, come into play, just like the incident response and recovery. What do you want when it comes to the incident response and recovery in the event that there is a security breach? Okay, how do you want things set up? Some environments, right now I'm talking to a nonprofit that has to keep paperwork for everything. I mean, they have to keep paperwork, although they're on a system. So when it comes to recovery, if their system is hacked, they're going to fall back on paper. But everyone doesn't have that luxury to fall back on paper. And that's why I said depends on your industry and what we have to do. And we do work with with our clients when it comes to fees. Especially nonprofits and those types. And we try to give them the best cost structure that we can. And also when they have to purchase equipment, we do what we can to find the best equipment. When I say the best equipment at the cheapest price, and the best equipment is equipment that can actually perform the capabilities that we're trying to implement, and not just the name brand.
Okay. Yeah. And then, sometimes for smaller businesses, they're like, I just don't have the budget for all of this. But, it's so important to make sure that you take care of this, because conversely, if something were to happen that negatively impacted your, customers' information and all types of things, we hear about these breaches all the time. What would you do then if you, open yourself up to lawsuits and all kinds of other different things? So it's definitely important to consider that, no matter what size business you have. So given that, I appreciate all the information that you guys have shared with me today and working with you guys. What's the best way if a new client is hearing this interview and they're like, I've been putting this off for long enough, but it's finally time for me to do something about it. What's the best way for a new client to initiate working with you or us, as far as kind of working through the process of getting information on what it would cost their company to implement cybersecurity?
Okay. The best way, if they're looking at this video and saying, hey, look, it's about time. Okay. The first thing you do is just contact you, Cherie.
Okay.
They can contact you. We actually have a free assessment. It's not a full assessment, but it's a start on our website. And even just by contacting you, you can actually set them up to get going, or they can go on our website and start that themselves. And then we would be notified that the customer is in there performing the assessment, or they can call. They can call me directly. And my number is 214-317-9339. It's easy for me to say.
Okay. All right. Now, I don't know if you want all these people calling your phone, but hey, we'll see.
Yeah, they can.
Give me the website as well. Let's go ahead and share the website with the folks.
The website is www.innovativelogics. That's LOGICS.com.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then if they get on the website, is it clear where they actually take the assessment?
Oh, yes. It's very, very clear. You look at the upper right-hand corner, and there's an assessment button that you hit. Once you hit the assessment button, we ask you for some very rudimentary information, such as your email. Okay. Because one of the things we do is we validate the email. Okay. To make sure it's a valid email. And then you go from there. And you don't have to sit and take this assessment at one sitting.
Okay. That's what my next question was going to be. How long is this assessment? Because a lot of people just get, they see something, they think, oh, this is too big, and then they decide they're going to put it off again. What would you say the standard amount of time is needed to actually complete the assessment?
I would think it's a couple hours, and Chuck can correct me if I'm wrong. But if you sit and you want to do it, it would take that. Here, if you know your environment,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you get on these assessments, and you don't know your environment, you're trying to figure out what you have. So it takes a long time. So for those questions, I would just skip over them and continue. And when we contact you, we can work with you on what you're missing. Okay.
So
But
for the information, for the people who are clueless as to what they need or what their environment is, they can just put the information in there that they do know, and then you guys can kind of fill in the blanks once you actually have a call. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
When
That
they
sounds like a
actually, when
good
we get in
plan.
touch with them, we'll help them fill in the blanks.
Okay. All right. That sounds like a good plan for folks, because they want to know, these days we're working in the times of people want everything easy. And so I just want to make sure that we share, what the opportunity looks like. So any final comments on cybersecurity as it relates to, what you guys are seeing out there today?
Well, cyber is all over the place, and we're it's all over the place. It's not just in companies. It's in different types of companies. It's with insurance. It's with everyone. And the one fallacy out there is this: I have my stuff. I'm going to use the exact words a lot of people tell me. My stuff is in the cloud. I am safe. No, you're not. No, you're not.
So you want to dispel that myth of it being in the cloud, and making sure that it's safe. So you heard it here today, folks. Wallace Levine, the CEO of Innovative Logic, says, don't stand on the fact that your information is in the cloud and think that you're safe. You definitely need to take advantage of learning more about your environment and making sure that you guys are safe against breaches and all kinds of things that are going out. Technology, the one thing that I do know in my limited knowledge is that technology is changing every day. So you just want to make sure that you're staying up to date with everything, just to make sure that you're keeping your information and everything safe. So I definitely appreciate you guys' time today, taking time out of your busy schedule, and hopefully we've been able to inform some folks out there and educate some folks on how important cybersecurity is, no matter what size business you have. And then I've got a resource partner for that. So I definitely appreciate you guys' time. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And again, if you need to contact Innovative Logics, you can either contact Wallace Levine at 214-317-9339, or you can fill out the assessment online, which is www.innovativelogics.com. So thanks again for your time today. And if anybody has any questions, I will definitely be in touch with you guys, okay?
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.